It's 10 to 3, we've made it to the car park near the hotel. This is going to go pay for parking, because the hotel doesn't have parking. So we went out the closest one we could find. It's been a long drive, but we're here. So we're going to park up, get stuff into the hotel, get ready for tomorrow, and then in a couple of hours or so time we are going to head to the briefing and then go from there. Try not to die. So going out for the first lap, I actually felt really quite strong in myself. I had fresh legs, I had slept all right. I was generally really quite prepared for it. I had already been dropped right at the back, right from the beginning. But I wasn't too worried about that because I was just kind of there to race my own race. So I ended up just kind of doing my own thing and pretty much being alone for the majority of the race, up until the point I actually got myself to Snowdon. But all in all, the lap went a lot better than I was anticipating, which was really good considering the time I'd allowed myself to complete it. Sounds not great. I'm on my own! Yay! Also the last person! Yay! I am seriously unprepared for this. Yay! But I'm alive. And as far as goes so far, I'm second time. So, I ended up finishing the first lap in about an hour 10, which gave me an extra 20 minutes to be able to get out onto lap 2, which was perfect because I could really start to feel myself fatiguing. By the time I'd hit the steps of doom again, my legs were in agony and I knew I still had a whole nother lap to go. It's 10:30. I'm about 5-ish K in. I say ish because obviously I'm in Wales, so the signal does have a tendency to drop in and out, but I am about 5k-ish in, so it's not long now till I come up to the aid station, which is around about the 5k mark. I'm on the last lap. I've got an hour and a half before the cut-off time, so from where I am now and what I've got left, I should have more than enough time to do it, whether I walk or run. So yeah, and then Chris has just got to get out on the bike and then I drag myself up a mountain. So making my way through lap 3, there was definitely a lot more walking in this one than I would have liked, especially going up the uphills. I was in quite a lot of discomfort, not a huge amount of pain that it was going to cause me to stop, but I was in a lot of discomfort. As I started getting to this bit, I was very quickly realising just how much time I had left, which by the time I'd started doing the calculations, a little bit to distract myself, a little bit to find out where I was, by the time I started doing the calculations, I'd actually realised that I was going to complete this not just within the 5 hours, but actually well within the 5 hours. There's a couple of parts during this that I probably ended up bursting into a random song, and I'm fairly certain I was singing as I passed some hikers coming down the next bit of trail as well. But yeah, I got to a point on the third lap where I needed a bit of motivation, so I did actually put my music on. I didn't have my headphones with me because I hadn't planned to take them out, so I just played the music whilst I was out in the woods, bit of Disney on, and it was enough to help me. These steps were absolutely brutal and they really crippled me, so I'm glad this was my last lap, to say the least, and all I had to do was tackle a mountain. We are nearly home. after the third lap, I just hit another bridge. I go over a railway track and I am there, and I've got an hour to go. We can fucking do this. We can do this. That was my goat friend I made. I turned the music off. I didn't really want to get attacked by a goat at that particular point. So, lap 3 done. I got myself into transition, handed the stuff over to Chris, sent him off and made sure he got off safely, and then got myself into transition, where I made the mistake of sitting down on the floor. As I did, the guys who were doing the massage therapy had turned up, spotted me on the floor trying to stretch my calf muscles out, and actually turned around and said, "So you're going to be my first victim," or something along those lines. And that indeed I was. By the time he'd actually kind of queried to say, "Why you're not over here yet?" I had to inform him my calf had cramped up and I physically couldn't move it. So he spent a couple of seconds just kind of easing it out enough that we could get myself onto the table and then get myself sorted. So I got my calves seen to, and just kind of like right at the top of my glutes. And then we also taped myself up as well, just so then I could be ready. The next bit was very much just me spending a bit of time refueling, rehydrating, getting myself ready for what would be my run up the mountain, but also getting the bottles that Chris needed. So from there, I then met him at the transition area, where he would come around and pick up things, and we would do bottle swaps. And then, yeah, that was kind of my job, kind of getting ready, getting organised, making sure I was eating plenty, so plenty of food, sorting my nutrition for the mountain so it was ready to go. And yeah, and then it was just kind of a lot of waiting around. So I had layered up with clothes just to keep myself warm. I had already changed the clothes that I was going to be wearing, so I had new socks, new shoes to go up the mountain in, new jersey. I had my bag ready to go, so my water was ready to go. All I needed to do was add the gels, and yeah, and then we just waited for Chris to do his section. So I will let Chris talk to you about that, although there is very little to no footage other than a little bit from me and a photo, so you'll have to just bear with him chatting for a bit.
As far as I'm aware, I was the last cyclist out on the course, as Jess was the last runner in on the full brutal distance. Everyone else, all the other competitors, were doing shorter distances, either the swim or a shorter run. So I half jogged out of transition, eager to get started, and that's where it started going wrong. Yeah, straight out of the gate, something fell off. I planned to ease myself into the ride since I've been sat in the car for the last 4 hours. Jess set off at 7, so it wasn't 11 until she came back in. And in the meantime, there wasn't much else to do because I had to have my bike racked before she set off. So it was about 5 hours of doing nothing really. Out of the feed zone, sort of start area, where the timing mat was, and straight onto out of Llanberis, I noticed my Wahoo was reading that I was in zone 4 on my heart rate, whereas I'd planned to do it as much as I could in zone 2, as 200-kilometre training ride I did a few weeks beforehand, I did almost exclusively in zone 2. But I put that to the back of my mind and set about trying to bring my power down so my heart rate would come down at the same time. Unfortunately, I hit 2 sets of traffic lights. Both were turning red as I got to them, so my heart rate spiked as I pulled away from each of those. As Llanberis is about a 5.5 hour drive away from us, there's no chance we could really recce the course. And with the Nant Gwynant climb looming over the profile, the other hills just sort of looked like little lumps on the route. In fact, the Nant climb, about 8 kilometres in each lap, it was like a really sharp climb, maxing out like 14% over 64 metres. And I think that was probably the hardest climb of the route, because the larger Nant Gwynant, you could sort of set a tempo and just ride it. However, despite that, I completed the first lap in the time that I was looking for. But about 2/3 way around the second lap, something just clicked in my head. It just flipped that I felt really fatigued and drained, like immediately on that point, which was strange because I was eating and drinking to schedule, but I could feel the road sort of sapping my energy. I think pros would describe the roads as heavy. That's exactly how they felt out on the course. Looking back, I can see my power just drop, and the Nant Gwynant climb took me 23 minutes on the first lap, but it took me over half an hour on the way back. And the drag back to Llanberis just felt horrendous. Looking back at it, whilst Jess was doing the third leg, I've seen that 90k was the hardest I've ever ridden over any distance, including like 200 plus k rides ever. Coming back at the feed zone, I just stopped in front of Jess and I said, listen, I've got nothing left. A marshal overheard us and said that instead of pulling out of the race entirely, we could just drop down to the half, which meant Jess just had to run up Snowdon and we could still finish the race.
So, after the decision had been made for us to go up Snowdon, I had made my way. It hurt as much, if not more, than I thought it was going to. I knew I was exhausted. I knew that, quite frankly, I didn't want to do it. But I also knew that I didn't want to not do it. There were lots of photo stops. But it was nice and clear, and I could see where I was going, which was really good, because last time I hiked up this path, I couldn't see, you know, like 2 feet in front of my face because of the rain. It took a good couple of hours to get up to the top. There was a lot of slog, there was a lot of stopping. I used my hiking poles a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I am really glad that I took them. We hit a point where it had actually started to rain, which was not great. But I did get to the top, and it was actually quiet enough to get right to the top. Earlier on in the day, it had been too busy up there, so people had just stopped at the medical tent and then turned around. Coming down, I honestly think coming down was worse than going up, because it absolutely crippled my legs, and I ended up putting quite a lot of weight onto my walking poles. But I did have a couple of bits lower on the mountain where I did actually break into a bit of a run. Before my calves decided that they were not having any of it, my ankle was starting to go, so I kind of ran until I couldn't and then dropped down to a walk. And this is my thoughts as I come off the mountain. I've made it onto the tarmac path. That means just down here, round a roundabout, and then into the finish. Not far. I keep finding myself coming close to tears, but a couple of reasons. One, I'm in a hell of a lot of pain, as to be expected, but two, I'm so close to the finish. I honestly didn't think I was going to do this. It hurts. But I am so close to being able to do this. It's weird. God, isn't it funny how a race can break you? I'm going to focus on getting down here safely. Chris is at the bottom. And then we get to the finish. And then it's just short trek back to the car. And then these shoes are coming straight off. Bye. So the last bit of the race was actually a really big emotional roller coaster for me. I'd cried several times throughout that race. Not for the same reason I'd cried in my first marathon, but because I knew that I was going to do it and that we were going to be able to complete it. It was kind of a positive emotional response, as opposed to, crap, I'm lost, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I'm tired and in pain. So I'd got myself down off the mountain, I'd got myself down the tarmac path at the base of Snowdon on the Llanberis path, and I'd met Chris at the gate. He'd tried to give me a buff, which I was like, I don't need that, I'm absolutely boiling. But actually the reason he wanted to give me the buff was so that he could give me Solomon. So I run with Solomon a lot. And I cried at that point, because he was like, he was giving me this thing that I always normally do. So I put Solomon on, and we made the kind of trudge back to the finish line. We came across some people who were there supporting and cheering on all the people doing, obviously, the double, those out doing the runs on the full duathlon. turned around the corner and started making our way down to where we would cross the road for the finish. And as I was crossing the road, I just had this fleeting thought through my head that I cannot walk into the finish of a race called Seriously Brutal. And I knew it was going to hurt. And I think I actually remember shouting over to, again, some supporters who had said something like, oh, you're going well. And I'm like, this really hurts, but I refuse to walk in. So I ran. Chris took the hiking poles off me and I just ran. And the closer I got to the finish line, the faster I got. Not because I had stuff left in the tank. I probably did because I'd done a lot of walking and I'd had quite a lot of rest. But I think it was, I ran as fast as I could because I wanted it to be over so I could stop and say, I've done it, kind of thing. I was in a lot of pain. I was certainly in a lot of pain at this point. We got through the finish line and then they handed us not just the medals, but also the trophy for being the first duathlon relay team in the half. Now, we had dropped down to the half, so we'd got a trophy for that, but actually had we also completed the full, we would have also got the trophy for that, because we were the only relay team for both the duathlons. I think there had been more relay teams for the full duathlon originally, but none of them seemed to be there, so I don't really know what happened there. So by the end we came out with a trophy, 2 medals, and 2 very, very tired athletes. Got back into the car, got changed sort of. It took me nearly about 5 minutes to actually peel my leggings out of my knee, because after having fallen over the week before, my knee was still healing, so yeah, it kind of got stuck to my leggings, which wasn't fun, so I made that bleed again. But got changed, got warmed up. We'd got actually a hot chocolate from the stand, and then we had to go and source food. That was quite a big challenge. We ended up going to a chip shop that had run out of chips, so we're not sure how that one had happened. But we finally got food, and then it was the long drive back to the hotel. It is now 9 o'clock at night. We are in the middle of the towny bit, trying to find food. We're done. I'm broken. There are 2 things I can take away from this. I can do the run section of the full. Not well, but I can do them, and well within the time limits. Whether I'd have been able to do them at the time the mountain stage would have come in, is a whole different ballgame. But yeah, I can do it. And the second thing I can take away from it is my determination is my strength. At some points it is my weakness, but it is definitely my strength. I need a shower because the actual level of grime going through me at the minute is just fully embedded into my soul. And my feet hurt so bad. But I did it. We got medals. We also got something else as well, so yeah, emotionally broken but alive and hungry and tired and ready for a fucking shower. Got to the hotel. It was quite late at night. We literally checked in, crashed out, and slept until God knows what time in the morning. All I know is that when we got out of the car to try and walk into the hotel, I couldn't walk at all. It was the same getting out of the hotel and across to breakfast. And then it actually took me about 4 or 5 days after coming back from Brutal to get to a point where I could walk properly. So, yeah, to say I ended up with DOMS would be an understatement. I ended up not actually being able to walk very much at all. But we had completed the race. Not only had we completed the race, we had technically come first, which some can argue it's not really a legitimate win because you were the only team there, but the only way we could have legitimately won that is by completing the distance. I'm really actually quite proud of myself because not only had we managed to complete the race as a relay team, I had managed to complete both the full run sections in a good time. We kind of calculated that my time on Snowdon would have been enough for me to have completed it if he'd have got in at 10. And my time on the 15-mile run was really good, and I'm really pleased at how well that went, considering, I mean, I had points of very little, very sporadic training, and B, I was anticipating that I was going to be right on the wire with a 5-hour finish for that. So the fact that I did it in about 4-hour 10, 4-hour 15 is really good. I'd done it nearly a whole hour quicker than what I was going to do. So yeah, I am super stoked about that one. Really, really good. Will we do it again? You'll have to find out about that one in a review video we'll do. We'll have a chicken and chat review, let you know our full thoughts on it and what we might decide to go and do at some other point with it. So yeah, I'm going to round it out there because I've now been waffling for about 6 minutes, but thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, do let us know in the comments, and if you took part in one of the races yourself, either the half duathlon, the full duathlon, the half triathlon, full triathlon, or were you crazy enough to have a go at doing the double brutal, do let us know in the comments. And there are a couple of really awesome videos of actually the full brutal that you can go and check out. We've watched them and it's great. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a comment down below because we love reading everything you have to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe as that really helps us out. Enjoy the rest of your day and make sure to run, ride, live. Bye for now.